The desperate gamble, 770 words. The galaxy trembled under the iron fist of the Dominion Empire. For 300 years, their massive fleets had crushed every species that dared resist. Entire civilizations vanished overnight. Their worlds turned. To ash and memory. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance, humanity's first and only interstellar warship. Earth's resources had been stretched thin just to build this single vessel, while other species fielded thousands of ships. Humanity could barely manage one. "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from the Kelani system," reported Lieutenant Amy Cross from her station. The blue-skinned Kelani were peaceful traders who had helped humanity learn about galactic politics. Now their 3 worlds faced total destruction. Jake studied the tactical display. 87 Dominion warships surrounded the Kelani homeworld. Each enemy vessel was twice the size of the Defiance. The odds were impossible, suicidal even. "They have families down there," whispered Dr. Ben Rivers, the ship's science officer. "Children who've never seen war." The crew looked to their captain. Earth had sent them with one mission: make humanity known to the galaxy. Nobody expected them to fight the Dominion alone. That would be madness. Jake thought about his daughter back on Earth, only 7 years old. What kind of galaxy would she inherit if good people just stood by and watched evil triumph? "Set course for the Kelani system," Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." "Captain," said Commander Lisa Stone, his first officer, "we can't win this fight." "Maybe not," Jake replied, "but we can try." The Defiance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kelani system. Immediately, Dominion sensors detected this small human ship. Admiral Vex, commander of the Dominion fleet, laughed when he saw the tactical readout. "One ship?" Vex asked his bridge crew. "The humans send one tiny ship against my entire fleet?" The Dominion had never heard of humanity before today. This unknown species appeared to be either incredibly brave or completely insane. Vex decided they were simply foolish. "Destroy them quickly," Vex commanded, "then finish burning the Kelani worlds." 20 Dominion ships turned toward the Defiance. Their weapons were already charging, ready to end this pathetic rescue attempt in seconds. But Jake had studied every piece of intelligence Earth had gathered about Dominion tactics. Their ships were powerful but slow. Their commanders were arrogant, used to easy victories against terrified enemies. "All power to engines," Jake ordered. "Take us into the asteroid field." The Defiance dove toward a dense cluster of space rocks, moving faster than any Dominion ship could follow. The human vessel twisted between asteroids like a dancer, while enemy fire struck empty space behind them. "Impossible," Admiral Vex muttered. "No ship can navigate that field at such speed." What Vex didn't understand was human determination. Earth's pilots had trained in asteroid fields for months, pushing their reflexes to superhuman limits. They had prepared for exactly this moment. The Defiance emerged from the asteroid field directly behind a massive Dominion battleship. Didn't hesitate. Fire everything. Human weapons were different from anything the galaxy had seen. While other species relied on energy beams, humanity had developed kinetic projectiles that moved at incredible speeds. The Defiance carried railguns that could punch through any armor. The Dominion battleship exploded in a brilliant fireball. For the first time in centuries, a Dominion vessel had been destroyed in combat. Across the galaxy, other species monitored the battle through long-range sensors. The proud Nexari, enslaved by the Dominion 50 years ago, watched in amazement. The mysterious Void Walkers, who lived in deep space, took notice. Even the ancient builders, oldest race in the galaxy, observed this impossible scene. One human ship had just killed a Dominion battleship. "What are these humans?" whispered Queen Nera of the Nexari Resistance. Admiral Vex was no longer laughing. "All ships converge on the human vessel. I want them destroyed immediately. But the Defiance was already moving, diving toward the planet. Surface. Jake had a plan, though it seemed impossible even to his own crew. "Captain," Amy said nervously, "you're taking us into the atmosphere." "Our ship wasn't designed for atmospheric combat." "Neither were theirs," Jake replied grimly. The Dominion fleet followed the humans into the sky above the colony homeworld. Below, millions of blue-skinned civilians looked up in wonder. For the first time in months, someone was fighting for them. The real battle was about to begin. The impossible victory. 770 words. The Defiance screamed through the colony homeworld's atmosphere, with 60 Dominion ships in pursuit. The human vessel's hull glowed red from atmospheric friction, but Jake pushed the ship harder than it had ever been pushed. "Hull temperature critical," Dr. Rivers called out. "We're going to burn up." "Not yet," Jake replied through gritted teeth. He was counting on human engineering being superior to anything the Dominion had seen. Behind them, the Dominion ships struggled with atmospheric flight. Their vessels were built for space combat, not aerial maneuvers. 3 enemy ships lost control and crashed into mountains, their crews never having trained for such conditions. Admiral Vex watched his fleet stumble through the alien sky like drunken giants. How are the humans still flying? The answer lay in Earth's history. Humanity had spent centuries perfecting atmospheric flight, from primitive aircraft to spaceplanes. The Defiance had been designed to operate in any environment, while Dominion ships were specialized for space battles only. Jake led the enemy fleet over a vast ocean, then suddenly pulled up in a brutal climb. The Defiance rocketed back toward space, its crew pressed into their seats by crushing acceleration. "Now," Jake commanded. The human ship spun around and fired every weapon it had at the Dominion vessels below. Caught in the planet's gravity? Well, struggling with atmospheric turbulence, the enemy ships were sitting targets. 5 more Dominion vessels exploded in the sky, their debris raining into the ocean. The colony people on the surface cheered and wept with joy. Never had they seen their oppressors suffer such losses. But Jake wasn't finished. The Defiance dove back into the atmosphere, this time toward a massive Dominion ground base. The enemy had built a fortress on the largest continent where they processed captured colony civilians for slave labor. "Captain," Commander Stone said, "that base has shield generators." "We can't penetrate them." Jake smiled grimly. "We don't need to penetrate them. We need to overload them." The Defiance flew straight at the base's shields, firing continuously. The colony-built shields were designed to stop energy weapons, but human kinetic projectiles worked differently. Each impact created feedback in the shield matrix. "More power to weapons," Jake ordered. "Everything we have." The human railguns fired faster than their designers had thought possible. The crew worked beyond exhaustion, reloading ammunition by hand when the automatic systems failed. Dr. Rivers diverted power from life support to keep the weapons running. The base shields flickered, overloaded by the constant kinetic impacts. For a brief moment, they failed completely. Jake didn't waste the opportunity. Missile salvo now. 6 human missiles streaked toward the unprotected base. Unlike the energy torpedoes used by other species, human missiles carried chemical explosives primitive by galactic standards, but devastatingly effective against unshielded targets. The Dominion fortress vanished in a series of massive explosions. Thousands of colony slaves were freed in an instant, while their Dominion guards were buried under rubble. Across the galaxy, resistance movements watched the impossible battle with growing hope. The Nexari Queen called an emergency meeting of her War Council. The Void Walkers began moving their hidden fleets toward known Dominion positions. Even the peaceful Spiral Alliance started debating military action for the first time in generations. One human ship was changing everything. Admiral Vex had lost 23 vessels and his primary ground base. His surviving ships regrouped in high orbit, trying to understand what had happened. "The humans fight like madmen," reported his tactical officer. "They use primitive weapons, but their tactics are completely unpredictable." What the Dominion couldn't comprehend was human creativity. For millennia, Earth's warriors had faced impossible odds and found ways to win through cunning, determination, and sheer bloody-mindedness. Every human strategy came from lessons learned in countless wars against their own species. The Defiance had taken severe damage. Hull breaches on 3 decks, weapon systems running at barely 50%, and the engines making concerning noises. But the crew worked miracles with spare parts and determination. "How long until repairs are complete?" Jake asked. 6 hours, Chief Engineer Tom Blake replied. "Maybe 5 if we push it." Jake looked at the tactical display. The remaining Dominion ships were forming up for one final assault. Admiral Vex would throw everything he had left at the human vessel, determined to end this humiliation. "We don't have 6 hours," Commander Stone observed. Jake nodded grimly. The hardest fight was yet to come, and the Defiance was running on. Fumes and prayer. But across the galaxy, something had awakened. Other species were watching. The age of Dominion terror was ending, even if Jake and his crew didn't live to see it. The Galaxy Awakens, 770 words. News of the battle at the Kelani system spread across the galaxy like wildfire. For the first time in 3 centuries, someone had bloodied the Dominion's nose and lived to tell about it. On the forge world of Nexer, Prime, Queen Nera stood before her assembled war chiefs. The blue-skinned Nexari had been enslaved by the Dominion 50 years ago, their proud warrior culture crushed under alien boots. "One human ship destroyed 23 Dominion vessels," she announced to the stunned gathering. "If humans can do this with one ship, what could we accomplish with our entire fleet?" War Chief Kava, scarred veteran of the failed rebellion, shook his massive head. "Your Majesty, it's impossible. No one defeats the Dominion in open battle. The humans just did," Nera replied firmly. "Ready our ships. If these humans can find the courage to fight, so can we." Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds. The Void Walkers, mysterious nomads who lived in the dark spaces between stars, began moving their black ships toward Dominion trade. Roots, the crystal-based harmonics, who communicated through light patterns, flickered messages of rebellion throughout their network worlds. Even the ancient builders took notice. These beings had created much of the galaxy's infrastructure millions of years ago, then retreated to hidden worlds when younger species became too violent. Now, their massive construction ships began emerging from dimensional storage, ready to aid in the coming war. Meanwhile, the Defiance drifted in the shadow of the Kelani homeworld, her crew working frantically to repair battle damage. They had no idea their actions had sparked a galactic uprising. "Hull breach on deck 7 sealed," reported Chief Blake over the comm system. "But we're down to emergency power only." Captain Jake Morrison surveyed his battered ship through the observation deck's cracked window. Scorch marks covered the hull, and entire sections of armor plating were missing. The Defiance looked like she'd been through a meat grinder. Dr. Rivers approached, carrying a data pad with long-range sensor readings. "Captain, you need to see this." Jake studied the display and felt his heart skip a beat. Hundreds of ships were converging on nearby systems, not Dominion vessels, but the warships of a dozen different species. The galaxy was mobilizing. "My God," whispered Commander Stone. "What did we start?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A transmission reached the Defiance from the Spiral Alliance, the galaxy's closest equivalent to a peaceful government. Ambassador Tell, an elderly being who looked like a walking tree, appeared on the main screen. "Captain Morrison, Tal said in accented English. "Your species has given us all a great gift hope. The Spiral Alliance formally requests Earth's assistance in liberating the galaxy from Dominion oppression." Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. Earth had sent one ship to explore the galaxy, and now they were being asked to lead a rebellion. "Ambassador," Jake replied carefully, "we're honored by your request, but humanity has only one ship. How can we possibly help?" Tell's bark-like face twisted into what might have been a smile. "You have already helped more than you know. Every species in the galaxy is watching your battle. You have shown us that the Dominion can be defeated." The transmission ended, leaving Jake and his crew staring at each other in amazement. They had come to explore strange new worlds, not start a galactic war. "Sir," Lieutenant Cross called from her station, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of the system. Something big is coming out of hyperspace." Jake felt his stomach drop. Admiral Vex was probably bringing reinforcements, maybe the entire Dominion Second Fleet. The Defiance could barely fly, let alone fight a major battle. But the ships that emerged from hyperspace weren't Dominion vessels. Sleek Nexari warships, deadly Void Walker raiders, and massive builder construction ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of species, all flying in unity for the first time in galactic history. "Queen." Nira's voice crackled over the communication system. "Human vessel Defiance. This is the Nexari Royal Fleet. We stand with you." Similar messages came from every ship in the growing armada. The harmonics sang their battle songs through light-based communications. The Void Walkers spoke in their ancient shadow language. Even the mysterious Deep Ones, who lived in the gas, giant atmospheres, sent greetings through electromagnetic pulses. Jake realized that humanity had accidentally done something incredible. They had united the galaxy against a common enemy. "Captain," Dr. Rivers said quietly, "there's something else. Long-range sensors show Dominion fleets mobilizing throughout their empire. They're not just sending reinforcements, they're preparing for total war." Jake nodded grimly. The Dominion wouldn't give up their empire without a fight. What had started as a rescue mission was about to become the largest war in galactic history. The Great Alliance, 770 words. High Admiral Zorn stood in the command, center of the Dominion's most powerful fortress, watching tactical displays that showed the impossible. 17 different species had formed a military alliance, and their combined fleets were advancing on multiple fronts. "How many ships?" Zorn asked his intelligence officer. "Over 4,000, sir, and more joining every hour." Zorn's forearms twitched with anger. For 3 centuries, the Dominion had ruled through fear and overwhelming force. No species had dared challenge them directly. Now, because of one human ship, everything was falling apart. What makes these humans so special? Zorn demanded. The intelligence officer, a nervous creature with compound eyes, consulted his reports. "They appear to be incredibly aggressive, sir. Their one ship has destroyed 41 of our vessels with no concern for their own safety. Intelligence suggests their entire species may be similarly unstable." Zorn studied the tactical displays more carefully. Human battle tactics made no sense according to established military doctrine. They took insane risks, fought with primitive weapons, and somehow kept winning against superior forces. "Send the Third Fleet to Earth," Zorn commanded. "If we eliminate their homeworld, perhaps the other species will remember why they fear us." Meanwhile, aboard the Defiance, Jake Morrison found himself commanding the strangest fleet in galactic history. Ship captains from a dozen species filled his main screen, each offering their unique capabilities to the growing rebellion. The Void Walker ships can phase in and out of normal space, explained Captain Dark, whose ship appeared as nothing more than a shadow against the stars. "We can strike Dominion supply lines without being detected." Queen Nera nodded approvingly. My Nexari warriors will handle direct assault. We've been waiting 50 years for revenge. The ancient builder representative, a being of pure energy, inhabiting a mechanical shell, offered resources that staggered the imagination. Our construction ships can manufacture weapons and equipment for the entire alliance. We have been preparing for this war since the Dominion first appeared. Jake, listen to each species describe their strengths, trying to formulate a battle plan that could use such diverse forces effectively. The harmonics could coordinate communications across vast distances through their light-based network. The deep ones understood hyperspace navigation better than anyone. The crystal-based singers could disrupt enemy electronics with their harmonic frequencies. Dr. Rivers had been studying intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Captain, he said privately, we've started something we might not be able to finish. The Dominion controls over 1,000 systems. They have fleets we haven't even seen yet. Then we'd better win quickly, Jake replied. The first coordinated strike came sooner than expected. Long-range sensors detected a massive Dominion fleet approaching Earth, over 200 ships, led by High Admiral Zorn himself. They're going for our homeworld, Commander Stone realized. Standard Dominion doctrine: eliminate the enemy's home base first. Jake felt cold fury building in his chest. Earth had 8 billion people who didn't even know a galactic war was happening. His daughter was down there, along with everyone he'd ever cared about. How long until they reach Earth? He asked. Lieutenant Cross worked frantically at her console. 18 hours at maximum speed. Jake looked at the assembled fleet around the Kelene system. Hundreds of ships from multiple species, but scattered across several star systems. They couldn't possibly reach Earth in time, unless. Ambassador Tell, Jake called to the Spiral Alliance representative. Your people know more about hyperspace than anyone. Is there a way to move this entire fleet to Earth in under 18 hours? The tree-like being considered the question carefully. There is a technique called cascade jumping, using multiple ships' hyperspace drives in perfect synchronization. It's incredibly dangerous and has never been attempted with so many different ship types. What's the risk? Jake asked. Total destruction of the fleet if we miscalculate, Tell admitted. But it might work. Jake didn't hesitate. Do it. What followed was the most complex military maneuver in galactic history. Hundreds of ships from 17 different species had to coordinate their hyperspace jumps down to the microsecond. The harmonics provided split-second timing through their light-speed communications. The Void Walkers helped navigate the dangerous interdimensional currents. The builders contributed their massive computational power to calculate trajectories. The Defiance led the formation, her human crew working alongside alien engineers to modify their hyperspace drive for the cascade jump. Chief Blake and his team performed miracles with jury-rigged equipment and desperate improvisation. All ships report ready, Queen Nera announced. Jake took a deep breath. If this failed, Earth would face the Dominion fleet alone. If it succeeded, the galaxy's first truly united armada would defend humanity's homeworld. Initiate cascade jump, Jake ordered. Space twisted around them as hundreds of ships vanished into hyperspace simultaneously. Racing toward Earth at impossible speed. The battle for everything. 770 words. Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, unaware that the largest battle in galactic history was about to unfold in its skies. High Admiral Zorn's massive Dominion fleet dropped out of hyperspace, their weapons charging for planetary bombardment. Begin sterilization of the human homeworld, Zorn commanded from his flagship's bridge. I want every city reduced to ash within 6 hours. But before the first shot could be fired, space around Earth exploded with activity. Hundreds of Allied ships materialized in perfect formation, the cascade jump having worked flawlessly. The Defiance led the charge, her battle-scarred hull gleaming in Earth's sunlight. Impossible, Zorn breathed. How did they move so many ships so quickly? Jake Morrison's voice echoed across all communication channels. This is Captain Morrison of the Earth vessel Defiance. You came to our home looking for an easy target. Instead, you found the united forces of the entire galaxy. Surrender now, or face the consequences. Zorn's reply was a barrage of plasma fire from his entire fleet. The Battle of Earth began with unprecedented fury. Nexari warships dove into the thick of combat, their crews singing ancient war songs as they traded fire with Dominion battleships. Void Walker vessels phased in and out of reality, striking from impossible angles before vanishing like smoke. The mysterious, deep ones had brought something unexpected creatures from the gas giant atmospheres, massive living beings that could survive in space. These star whales, as humans quickly dubbed them, carried weapons grown rather than built, and their alien biology made them nearly immune to standard Dominion tactics. But it was the builders who provided the war's most devastating surprise. Their ancient construction ships began manufacturing weapons in real time, creating specialized tools for each moment of battle. When Dominion shields proved effective, the builders produced shield breakers. When enemy armor held strong, they created Piercer's. The Defiance fought at the center of the storm. Her crew pushed beyond all human limits. Chief Blake's engines screamed at 110% power while Dr. Rivers diverted every available system to weapons and shields. Lieutenant Cross coordinated with dozens of alien species simultaneously, her communication board a chaos of different languages and transmission frequencies. Dominion flagship, bearing 27 Mark IV, Commander Stone called out. There, targeting civilian population centers, Jake didn't hesitate. All ships, protect Earth's surface. No enemy fire reaches our planet. What followed was a moment that would be remembered for millennia. Species that had never cooperated before worked in perfect harmony to shield Earth from destruction. Nexari ships intercepted missiles meant for major cities. Harmonic vessels created interference patterns that disrupted Dominion targeting systems. Even the ancient builders placed their massive hulls between Earth and enemy weapons. High Admiral Zorn watched his carefully planned assault dissolve into chaos. His superior numbers meant nothing when facing enemies who fought with such coordination and determination. Worse, the human tactics were spreading to other species. Allied ships began making the same insane, impossible maneuvers that had made the Defiance so deadly. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're losing ships faster than we're destroying them. The enemy is adapting to our weapons, but we can't adapt to theirs. Zorn realized the truth that would reshape galactic politics. Forever, the Dominion's era of dominance was ending. Not because they lacked ships or weapons, but because they had never learned to truly fight. For centuries, they had simply overwhelmed terrified enemies with superior numbers, against an alliance that fought back with genuine courage and unity. Their advantages meant nothing. The tide turned when Queen Nira's flagship rammed directly into Zorn's command vessel. The Nexari Queen died in the collision, but her sacrifice destroyed the Dominion's command structure. Without central coordination, enemy ships began fighting as individuals, rather than as a unified fleet. Jake seized the moment. All ships, press the attack. For every species they've enslaved, for every world they've burned, this ends here. The final phase of battle lasted only 20 minutes, but it changed everything. The Dominion fleet was destroyed or scattered, their admiral dead, their era of invincibility shattered forever. As the smoke cleared, Jake stood on the Defiance's bridge and looked out at the most beautiful sight in the galaxy Earth still. Blue and green and alive, surrounded by the ships of a dozen species who had died to protect it. Ambassador, Tell's voice came over the communication system. Captain Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Alliance, for that is what we must call ourselves now, I offer humanity full membership and a place of honor in the new order we will build together. Jake thought about his daughter, somewhere far below on Earth's surface, who would grow up in a galaxy where freedom meant more than fear. On behalf of humanity, he replied, we accept. The age of the Dominion was over. The age of the Alliance had begun. And it all started with one ship that refused to stand. By while evil triumphed,